Hey everyone, Victor Guidera here from Recordeo, and in this video I want to show you how to get a great drum recording for under $200. And to do this, we're going to show you using the Zoom H4N Pro. And of course, you can use any similar model. A Zoom H1 is only $120, or Roland makes a cool model, Tascam, they all have cool options at the $200 or less mark. And the basic premise here is just an onboard stereo microphone. I actually have it sitting right beside me. Onboard stereo microphone, and it's a condenser pair that we have here. And so, this is great for recording videos for YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or anything like that, drum covers or just drum performances or fun, flashy things. This is a great cheap option to get a cool sound. And so a couple of months back, I was filming at the Drumeo studios and I was filming some lessons for Recordeo. And we used H4N Pro on some of the examples. And so we'll use that recording to demo some of the concepts here. So step one is all about placement. To get the drum sound you're looking for, or a good drum sound, or full fidelity, it's the placement. Where you put the thing is going to be the deciding factor into how good or bad the sound is. Of course, if your drums are tuned properly and how the room sounds, that's even before that, but we'll assume that you got that all set. Check out my other lessons on that kind of stuff as well. But so I actually have the Zoom recorder right beside me, which is awesome. And so, if the drum kit is in front of me, I'm gonna place the thing at about the height of the toms and just about 3 feet or closer, depending on how close or far I want to go with the thing. Sometimes farther away if I want to get more of the whole kit sound. And that's how far away from the drums I am. And about tom height, and I'll usually point it more down towards the bass drum to get more bass. So one of the biggest things we have a lack of in this kind of recording is the bass drum sound. And so, if you want more bass drum even than what I'm suggesting, then bring it way down lower in front of the bass, and you should get a lot more of that. You're kind of self-mixing as if you had multiple microphones, but you're just self-mixing with moving this thing around. And of course, you can experiment from left to right, moving it around if you want to hear more toms or whatever's going on in your kit. But that's what I recommend for placement. That gives me usually the best full image of the entire drum kit. And so step two is import the recording off of your SD card or whatever the device is that you're using into your computer. And so we're going to demo this using Pro Tools, which is a cross-platform digital audio workstation, a DAW. Sounds like we're dumbing that term down, but it really does mean something cool. And so there's actually a free version, Pro Tools First, which is, again, you can use it at Windows or Mac. And of course, there's free applications other than that. There's Audacity and other recorders like that. So we're going to show you the Pro Tools, and let's import the track here. Okay, so we have our session here, Shift-Command-I, or Shift-Control-I if you're on PC. And we're going to import our music. I had it just, or our full recording, actually. And while I'm at it, actually, I am going to import our music track because we did actually record music into the 2 extra inputs into the Zoom while simultaneously recording the drums. And that's a cool way you can record 2 music live, or you can just plug in headphones into your iPhone or whatever, or Android phone, and play along to it and try to line it up afterwards. This is a little bit tougher if you don't have the actual music source synced already to the live microphone. And so there's my files, and let's do a copy all, bring them in. New tracks. And the music track that I recorded had a click track in it, and so I don't want to have that in the final mix, so I'm just, even before hearing the drums or anything, I'm going to take my other music track that I imported with this and sync it up to the recorded music track that we recorded on board on the H4. And so I'll just show you that really quick. And here we go. So I happen to have a click count in on even the track with no click, which is the imported track that I did here. And let's just even make this one more bigger. But if I didn't have a click track, I could go to the waveforms and just line it up. Since I do have a click, let's go right to the first click. And on Pro Tools, I'm gonna hold this little fancy key there and just see where I need to be for that chunk of audio. So Shift and colon to draw a line right through, and it looks close enough. So now that that looks like it's synced up, let's listen back really quickly and make sure that it's not phasing or warbling a little bit if we did not sync it up properly. And so I'm just going to also bring the levels quite a bit down on both of them, and let's have a listen here. Cool, so you should be hearing it's just a little bit phasey. It sounded pretty close in the very beginning, and then over time, of course, if it's off just by a sample or anything, sound a little bit phasey, but I'm not concerned about that. I nailed it so close, and I'm muting, of course, the original track, so we won't ever hear that at all. So we're good to go with that. And so let's have a listen to just the dry recorded onboard microphone for a sec here, and let's just analyze that. And so step number 3 is to use some mixing techniques to maximize the quality of this single stereo microphone. And you know, although it sounds really cool already, I can hear all the voices pretty good here, there's still a lack of the low end in the bass drum, and even the toms a little bit. And so, you know, let's just jump right in here and show you what I've done. So we're using only the stock plugins, of course, that are available in Pro Tools. And it looks like, okay, so we've used a low shelf, which will boost everything below a certain point, a certain frequency point that I choose, which I chose 66 Hertz, as you can see. That's this guy here. I'll turn off the point right beside it. Okay, so I'm boosting everything at 66. There we go. And everything below. And, you know, about 3 dB. And then I'm using the next EQ point here, and I am boosting at 114. Now you may want to have this a little bit lower, depending on where you're at with the, you know, the bass drum tuning and the toms and everything. It may end up at 80, 90, or even 100. So let's leave it around wherever it was, about 110, 114, whatever. And so that was boosted just about 5 dB. Okay, and let's listen to this with the EQ and without, and I've turned off the other points of EQ that I've processed, just so that we can listen to this low end, and we'll address the other things in a minute. Cool, so that's sounding really good as is. And now another thing that I'm hearing is sort of a buildup in the low mids, where it's just sort of kind of got this kind of sound to it. And you know, let's listen to that, and I'll just show you what I was doing with that EQ point here that I have already preset in here. Cool, and also moving along, I wanted a bit more crack in the snare drum, but of course, you know, as we have EQ either cut or boost anything, it's affecting all of the drums that are captured in this single stereo microphone. So I'm just going to boost it just a little bit in sort of where, you know, an area where I want a little bit of brightness, a little bit of crack coming out of the snare drum. It's going to affect the cymbals, which isn't the best thing in the world, but let's check it out here. And so once I was done with that, I still wanted to knock down the very top end brightness to all of the cymbals. And that's just the sort of a part of the nature of the Zoom stereo microphones. It's very crisp and clear on the top end. It's sort of accentuated too much at the very top end, everything from about 5 kilohertz upwards. And so, I felt that that wasn't good enough, what I had with that EQ, so we added another one here. And what I did is I took a high shelf and cut down everything above 4.6 kilohertz, and I dropped it about 5 dB. And then I also, looks like I wanted to boost just a little bit more of that 2K, just a little bit. Sometimes I double it up on an EQ. It's okay to do that because we sort of boosted that area on the next EQ right after this. And then I also wanted to dip out just a little bit more in the mids, in the mid-mids, at about 560 hertz, just a little cut there, 2 dB. And so, I wanted to place that before the channel strip in stage because I want a compressor on this channel strip, but I want to cut out everything that I'm going to cut before I compress. And so for now, I'll still turn off that compressor, and let's listen to this EQ with and without. So as you can hear, it's really subduing that super bright ride cymbal and the crashes. I normally don't cut the top end of a cymbal mic or overheads or anything, but it's just so overpowering in this microphone placement. But the microphone alone itself, like I said, it's got an accentuated top end. And so let's bring in a little bit of compression. Nothing fancy here, just maybe a couple of dB, a slow medium attack to let the initial transients through, and we won't go too much into the compression aspects. You can just take these settings. It's a cool sort of a standard drum setting on different, even different voices on the kit. So about 12 milliseconds on the attack, quicker release, 2 milliseconds or so. Threshold, let's only talk threshold here. Knee didn't touch it as I opened the plugin up, and just a little bit of makeup gain. So let's see how much we're compressing and listen to with and without. Cool, so it's very subtle what I'm doing, but overall there's just a little bit of fullness being added to the signal. And so, the next step is to add some ambience in. And, be careful with this because you have the entire drum kit and you're sending to a reverb. So the bass drum is in there. Normally we don't send a lot of bass drum to a reverb unit, completely depending on the genre and the mix and the song that you're working on. So that being said, let's turn on this send that I had set up already. And I actually pre-EQ'd this reverb track. So I'm sending out of this bus 1-2 from the drums over to bus 1-2 on this aux track. And I'm EQing first before the reverb. And I'm actually cutting out everything at 180 hertz with a high pass filter with that 12 dB slope there. And so that is how I'm actually eliminating that really low sub-range kick that we really just boosted and accentuated. So that's not even gonna go into the reverb. And then you can add the reverb, of course. Just use a stock standard space plugin from Pro Tools here. Chose a hall or a church or something from the Netherlands. That's kind of cool. Why not? Sure. And so sometimes I actually want to EQ the output of the reverb, so after the reverb. And so what I've done here is I've just cut a little bit of 520 hertz 2 dB and the very top end sizzle. Sometimes sounds fake on a digital reverb or just unpleasant. So I cut out 2 dB on a 5 kilohertz shelf there. And so let's listen to how this sounds now with the ambience. Excellent. So that is shaping up like a really cool drum sound now. I mean, it's a little bit roomy sounding, you know, with the distant mic, you know, normally for a big full fidelity kit recording, we have a close microphone on all the shells to make them sound larger than life, plus your overheads and room mics and distant mics and things like that. But for the sake of, you know, having a $120 recorder or a $199 recorder to get that sound just with placement and a little bit of EQ and compression and reverb, you know, I think that sounds really great. So let's just bring in, I put a output limiter, just a stock Maxim limiter, which I really don't like, but it is a limiter that's in Pro Tools. Toss that in there with a little bit of gain reduction, a little bit of input gain, and let's listen to that. I'm also going to turn off the processing and turn it back on as we go. So that sounds awesome like that, and I have a lot of reverb on there because of the nature of the music track that we have here. So let's listen to the full song. So now the track is ready to export your master to use in a video editor. If you shot with your, I'm looking for my phone, I don't know where it is, but you can make a really cool video. Just throw up your phone and this recorder or any similar recorder, and now you can export your audio track, your cool master here, over to a video editor. And I recommend DaVinci Resolve. It's free and it's a super high-powered video editor, cross-platform Windows PC. Windows or PC, eh? Yeah, Windows or Mac. So, that kind of caters to everybody, and I highly recommend that. You could use iMovie if you got Apple devices and things like that. And so that is it for maximizing your sound off of just a single stereo microphone recorder. And, so I just want to quickly recap. What you need to do is place the microphone in the sweet spot, like we talked about. Set the mic gain, I didn't mention that. Set the mic gain so the peaks are at about minus 10 dB or so, give or take. You don't want to push that too far necessarily. Import the tracks into your DAW of choice, free or not free, doesn't matter. Use some of the basic EQ and compression techniques we talked about, and reverb, of course. Build the drum sound that you captured into a digital reverb and give it a bigger sound in that way as well. And maybe throw a limiter on the output like we did, and that is all there is to maximizing this sound and getting a great recording on a very low budget, essentially. So if you want more lessons on improving your drum sounds or recordings in general, anything like that, follow us on YouTube here, Facebook, and Instagram, as well as go check out Recordeo.com, where we have our awesome community of recording enthusiasts like yourselves. We'd love for you to join us. And, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in some more lessons.